Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today I'm here with Brittany Weinerth. She is the founder, owner of the Almaden Valley Children's Therapy Center. And we were just talking offline a little bit about the whole reason for doing this is how do we support students during this time and how do we support families, and especially the ones who have a little bit of stuff going on where they need that extra support. And just so you know, all of us professionals are trying to figure it out, and we want to know what you need and how we can help you. All right, so Brittany, tell us a little bit about yourself, your title, who you are, your business, where you're located, etc.
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be able to talk about what we do here. As you said, my name is Brittany Weinerth. I am the owner of Almaden Valley Children's Therapy Center. We provide pediatric occupational therapy primarily for children with sensory processing challenges. Most of the kids that come to us tend to be doing okay in school, but they might be struggling emotionally. They might be kind of having some challenges with like coping skills, right? They get really frustrated when things are hard for them. And so oftentimes families just kind of feel unsure where to go and what to do because they're not really getting the support they need from their school. And we also provide some school-based services, both for homeschool students as well as in a few local school districts.
What are you most concerned about during this time of COVID? So we're at, July 20th, 2020. What are you most concerned about with the kinds of kids that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big question. I have lots of concerns. I think I have, concerns, as like our society about all children, and how this is going to impact all children. I think specifically for the kids that I work with, I'm really concerned about their social and emotional skills. As I said, many of the kids that come here are just really borderline. They're struggling, but they're getting by. And I really am worried that now that they're not going to have this opportunity for daily practice of social skills, having to kind of manage difficult things with their peers, I really worry about how this is going to impact their ability to sort of manage their social emotional skills long term.
Yeah. Is there a way that you're able to provide support for that virtually? Like, are you figuring that piece out?
Yeah, so back in March, we had never done telehealth before, or teletherapy before, and obviously, like everybody else, we had to figure out how to make it work, and we immediately shifted all of our services online. There were some families who opted to not do it, which was totally understandable, but many of the families have found a lot of success. I find that it works in a lot of ways because we're able to do a lot more parent coaching, which I think helps parents to know how to incorporate a lot of the techniques that we're using. And so it's sort of shifted how we deliver therapy in a lot of ways, but I find that it actually has a lot of value.
Yeah, and actually, this might be a good time for you to share what you were showing me earlier, because you do have some tips for parents, which is another one of my questions, like what can parents do at home to support their students? So and I think that parent coaching piece is huge. We know that parents are going to have to be kind of a bigger part of support for their kids, which may be a benefit, a huge benefit. So you want to share with us just a couple of techniques and intervention tools that you're using and that you're sharing with families just so we can get an example?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key things that we do here, which I think is different than many places, is that we really place a huge emphasis on the relationship between ourselves as clinicians and our clients, but really the relationship and the foundation of support that a child feels to feel safe in order to do hard things. And so what I was sharing with you earlier was a tool that we have that we use or that can easily be incorporated at home to help children kind of do daily emotional check-ins. I think not only are our kids struggling right now, I think so many of our families are struggling. I know a lot of my friends are really struggling with this, idea that they're going to be their child's teacher this next year. And so I think it's both important for our children to be in tune with their emotions, but also our parents. So I think this tool that I'm going to share with you, let's see if I could share my screen, is good not only to just teach our kids how to have really good emotional literacy, but also just helps our kids to see that we all have emotions and we all have to kind of understand our emotions and know how to process those. So one thing that I often recommend for our families is to just do daily consistent check-ins around our emotions. So I just have a couple of tools here that, you can find these online. I just Googled these. We have a variety of tools that we use here as well, but anything will do. So here you'll see there's kind of different emojis with different emotional, ranges, right? So you might have like what we call the blue zone is somebody who's sick or sad, or the green zone might be somebody who's happy, and all the way down the line to the red zone. Another way you can do it is having sort of like a wheel that you can add a little an arrow, and the kid can kind of point to how they're feeling. I like to use like a stoplight analogy, right? So the red light, yellow light, green light. And then here's just another example down here of different emotions. I always like to put the kids' pictures. So you could see an example of a kid here, and this is how they look when they're in the green zone. And you might have them act out, what do they look like when they're in the yellow zone, right? When they're starting to feel some of these yellow zone emotions. And so what I recommend doing with this is having a consistent daily check-in. So not when they're in the red zone, you don't say, how are you feeling? What color are you right now? You want to do it when they're, probably most often in the green zone. You want them to be stopping and thinking about it so that they're having an opportunity to kind of check in and think about how they're feeling. And another way I like to use this is, I don't know if you've heard of kind of the idea of talking about your highs and lows at the dinner table. A lot of families, I think, do that, talking about what the best part of their day was and maybe what the hardest part of their day was. I like to suggest to families, for maybe our older kiddos, to talk about, like, tell me a time that you felt like you were in the yellow zone today, and how did you handle that? And then you all do it, not just the kid. I think as parents, it's really important for us to show our kids that we have emotions, and this is how we got through it. And that it's not, bad that they have a time where they get into the red zone. We all have that. So I think this is a great tool that families can use and start to incorporate.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It just made me think it's so important that parents know, that technique of not trying to talk about the problem or continue trying to use language to talk about the problem when kids are in the red zone, because the processing at that point is out the window, right? And that's for everybody. So, parents themselves too, catching themselves when they're getting into that yellow zone, so that they know, like, okay, when I get to that red zone, that's when I, kind of disengage for a second and maybe come back to it once things have de-escalated a little bit. And this, I think, could be important. This is important for every family. Like, every family can use this resource, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us, when do families come to seek your support? When's a good time to think, like, you know what, I need to call Brittany?
Yeah. So occupational therapists traditionally will see kids when they struggle with, like, maybe a specific skill. Like, a family might notice that my kid really struggles with cutting, right? They're not cutting on the line, or they're having trouble opening the scissors, or maybe it's around writing or tying their shoe, right? There are these specific skills. And, there's all kids are going to struggle with a various skill at different times. But I think when it's really critical to start getting help is when those challenges with skill development are starting to impact their social emotional skills. So when you start to see a kid giving up, not persisting with hard things, starting to say things like, I can't do it, I'm not, I don't know how to do it, I'm not good enough, or I'm bad at this. I feel like I notice a cycle. When that starts to happen, I just feel like the problem gets bigger and bigger, because they're not trying hard things anymore, and it's going to make it so that they can't develop those skills. So I feel like that's one of the key times that it's important to start talking to a professional.
Great. And what's your intake process like? What happens if somebody calls your clinic or emails you?
Yeah. So what we do here is we start with a complimentary screening process, which is a 15 to 30-minute phone call that we have with the families. Usually I take those because I think it's really important that we want to make sure that the families who come in for an evaluation are a good fit, not necessarily for us, but really for them. There are so many resources available in the community, which is why I love that you're doing this, having this series. That there is no reason that a child should be evaluated to find out that maybe that they shouldn't be in that setting, that there's something else available. So, the purpose of that call is, first of all, to make sure that OT is the right first step, and to make sure that there's no other resources that could potentially provide services, like, say, early intervention for children who are under 3, or maybe a school district if that hasn't been pursued. So we use that screening call to really understand what's going on and to make sure that we can help the family. So from there, if we determine that an evaluation is appropriate, we would go ahead and schedule that, and then we would make recommendations for ongoing treatment, usually at that point.
All right, great. And then your treatment, do you do it individual? Is it group? Is it virtual right now? Are you doing any in person? How does that work?
Yeah, so generally it's in person, but like you said, like we talked about, it's kind of shifted mostly online. Within the last week or so, we have started to see some of our clients back in the clinic. And then, we're starting with new kids in the clinic as well, because it's really hard to develop a really strong relationship online. And so there's been a few families who had called us kind of during that time of teletherapy. And I just felt like it was really important that we really have a strong foundation, because I think without that, it's really hard to make good progress. So right now we're doing kind of a hybrid, a mix of all of it.
All right, great. Well, would you please tell our audience how they can contact you? Email, website, phone number, and I'll also put this on the description and on the website.
Absolutely. So our website is www.almadenvalleychildrenstherapycenter.com. It's very long. We're actually just getting ready to release a brand new website. And so be patient with our old website. It is not the most pretty, but a better one coming soon. We also are on Facebook. You can email us. Our email is info@av-ctc.com. And our phone number is 408-601-0993.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything else that I didn't ask that you think is important that you're like, oh, I should have said this? Anything?
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing is, right now, again, families are really, I think, feeling overwhelmed by this next school year that's coming up. And I think if you can focus on one thing, I think focusing on having a solid foundation around a relationship, making sure that your child knows that they are loved and supported, and in some ways letting some of the academics go. Because I think when our kids feel that strong foundation, they will get those skills. They will be able to develop those skills. So I just want to really emphasize how important that is right now.
Oh, thank you. That's so important. I feel really grateful to have spoken with you. I feel so good about just being able to share this information with people who it will resonate with and who could benefit from your services. It's just great to know that there are so many professionals in our field and in this community that want to help, and are really specialized and can help not only the kids, but their families too. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And have a good one. I'll see you soon.